Because in NLP, it tends to be a little bit like football clubs. You're either Manchester or you're Leeds United, you're Arsenal or you're Chelsea.
And there's no in between.
Well, there's no in between, and of course, we're the best.
Yes.
So in terms of learning, I think it's important to learn not only from other people in communication, but also to explore and to look into what's outside the specific NLP or hypnosis niche. For example, most people who have websites would do well to investigate people like Steve Krug, Krug, who are brilliant in terms of advice on displaying and communicating information on websites.
Okay.
The difficulty with a lot of NLP is that they just lock onto something, and then suddenly we have unleashed 1,000 Frank Kern clones or 1,000 Richard Bandler clones, all doing the same thing, not very well, and proclaiming that they're all brilliant. So I'm all for people actually creating new insights, new work, new approaches, and having a really good discussion about that.
When you look at the way that you experience both, you try something and it doesn't quite work, or you do things and it does work, and on your blog you talk about how new therapists need to have as much fly time under their belt as possible. When you started seeing therapists, but also when you were doing your website and things, how did you provide your self-feedback? What kind of criteria were you looking at in order for you to improve?
Well, simple things. In terms of website, one of the simple things, if you take, say, a website as an example, and the great things about a website is, if you create a website, it makes you think about what it is you actually do and what it is you're communicating.
Yeah.
It's essentially an advert. So it's actually, well, what is it I want to say here? And that, for many people, is a simple but not the easiest question to actually answer. So a lot of websites, basically, they're like fast food restaurants that just cover everything. I can do this, and this. And they don't have a clear intent, they don't have a clear focus, and they're not particularly specialized. On the Mindscapes DVD, which I did with Doug O'Brien and Andy Austin, which was just talking about building a therapeutic practice and common sense information. None of this, you will earn £100,000 in 30 days if you subscribe to my newsletter for the Secrets of the Universe stuff. Just common sense, anecdotal information about what we find works, doesn't work. So in terms of websites, simple thing is do usability studies and get people to actually look at what you have who are not involved in your industry and give feedback and give honest and open feedback so that you can refine and see what's happening and what works best from their point of view. In terms of seeing clients, I didn't see any private clients for quite a few years because I didn't feel that at that time I had the sufficient amount of skills and what I call fly time to really justify charging people. So what I would do is I would, on as many opportunities as possible, seek to work with people on a voluntary basis and ask questions, ask advice, and really get my own thinking very, very clear in terms of how to interact and work with people. Remembering, of course, that individuals who come to workshops are not the same as people who are members of the public. People who pay to attend a workshop have already signed on and have a financial vested interest in being there, so they're already hugely biased towards being appreciative of any approaches actually working.
They're primed in a certain way. They kind of know how to respond to the questions that you're asking.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the old music hall joke, where the magician says, okay, I'd like a member of the audience, and some young guy comes up and he says, right, sir, you've never seen me before in your life, have you? And the young guy goes, no, Dad. So there's very much that element, and I've seen a lot of demos and a lot of workshops. And, of course, a lot of people who are trainers do not see private clients. Even the best-known trainers don't see private clients. And I would love to, absolutely, and I've talked to Andy T about this, have a situation where we say, okay, in a therapeutic context, let's have an independent evaluation of people, seeing private clients chosen by somebody else who's not in the industry, and see how people do. And for all the niche marketing, business, persuasion gurus, let's see them work with a company independently chosen for a period of time, and let's see what they can practically do as well. You know, a bit like Alan Sugar's The Apprentice. Let's see what can be demonstrated beyond what's just written down in ad copy.
It'd be very interesting to see that, definitely.
I would be very surprised if many people took up the offer to do that. I'd be very surprised. In Boulder, which I'm going to in a couple of weeks' time, with training with Steve and Richard Bolstead, the 4 days of the Advanced Mastery training is based around public client sessions. These are people who are coming from the outside, I have never seen before, have no knowledge of, and our part of the workshop is going to be working with them and then discussing, feeding back case studies with the group. That's pretty unusual. Usually people are selected from within the paying audience of the event.
So essentially, at the beginning of your time seeing private clients, you kind of chilled out in a way and weren't so quick to get charging and get underway. You made sure that you felt in yourself you were ready to see those clients, and then you felt comfortable charging them for that.
Well, I think look at it this way: if you've got, say, like a BMW, you want to take it in for a service, you really want the mechanic to have the requisite skills and capabilities, not somebody who did a weekend course, read a handbook, and saw an article in the back of the News of the World. You want somebody, if it still existed.
Yeah, you wouldn't get that now.
You really want somebody who has actually spent the time and dedication to have an insight into what's possible and what can be done. I mean, Frank Farrelly made the wonderful comment once when we were talking about the whole growth of NLP and et cetera, which was, how can anybody be a master of anything in a few weeks? Which I thought was quite astute, really. So just having a title declaring that you have a capability, and let's also remember, people confuse a certification, which has no commercial value at all, really, with being a qualification, which is quite different. So this isn't to say that there aren't skilled people, because there are some very, very skilled people out there. And not necessarily people that I agree with, but they can be very effective in their own ways. But it's really about, let's see the evidence of what people can demonstrate in reality rather than what is just blurted out on news groups. And now we have a trend of endless webinars, secret reports, and God knows what else turning up. Let's actually see some actual real evidence for this. That's the real proof.
Okay. So if we were to ask who your influences have been in order to get you to the standard that you're respected for today, I mean, you've talked a lot about Frank Farrelly, and I can see that he's a huge influence on you. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, and also other people that have influenced you as well.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who are definitely from a therapeutic or NLP background. I mean, Stephen Brooks, from an Ericksonian hypnosis point of view, I got his indirect hypnosis VHS tape back in the 90s. Truly excellent. I mean, really very, very capable. Other people who I really hang around with at the moment, Doug O'Brien from New York, excellent trainer, one of the few people that I would actually be able to sit through one of their products, hypnosis products, because he's exquisite tonality and exquisite ability to work with using Ericksonian hypnosis.
Right.
Other individuals would be Dave Dobson, which a lot of people won't know about, who sadly passed away in recent years, but very, very, very talented guy. And his Fun Shop CD series and On the Beach induction is superb. Andrew T. Austin, the wonderful Andrew T. Austin, hugely talented, maverick thinker, genuinely caring person with real skills and not afraid to ask the tough questions. Again, somebody who brings something different, especially his new metaphors of movement work and his IMT work. Very, very, really interesting stuff.
Okay.
Steve and Connie Ray Andres, I mean, they're both very different. I was talking to Connie Ray last night about the ChangeWorks workshop that I'm doing before the AMT. She's one smart person and very, very savvy, very capable. And Steve, of course, both as an editor and a trainer and a writer, does not suffer fools gladly, and God bless, the world needs more people like Steve and Connie Ray.
Yeah, he's been around a long time.
That's right. Outside of that, I think it's important to think of sort of like inspiration coming from lots of different places. So, in the field of sort of like communication, acting, people like Andy Kaufman, Bill Hicks, Eddie Izzard, in musicians, people like Bill Frisell, Martin Simpson, who I was with earlier on today. All these people bring a degree of skills and creative capabilities. Woody Allen would be another one. Aaron Sorkin as a screenwriter for The West Wing and various other things. They're all inspirations in different ways.
Okay.
A lot of NLPers stay very much within the niche of NLP, and they don't really investigate other things, and I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, I can see how you could bring a whole host of other influence outside of NLP to make it a whole lot better, or any area that you choose, whether it's NLP or hypnosis or anything like that. And one of the things that is quite good about you is that you make it very evident that you have a life outside of therapy and hypnosis and things like that on your blog and on your Facebook page and things.
Oh, I think it's really important. I mean, the question I have is, if somebody is literally sitting, writing endless reams of information on a news group day in, day out, my advice is switch off the computer, walk outside and get some fresh air, because that's a very limited perspective. And I think what tends to happen is that people get far too precious about certain ideas, certain ways of thinking. My interest is really what is useful, what is effective for other people. And I disagree with some of my ideas from years ago. I'm not particularly interested in who's right. I'm interested in the actual what's useful and what's helpful for people, either in business, personal development, or therapeutic context.
Okay, good. So we've talked already about how you've been quite vocal about how people brand themselves within NLP and things like that, and any forms of